me send me a kind of emoji so I can ensure that you can hear me well as anyone in the Twitter. If you can, if you have our voice clearly, please just give me a thumbs up so we know that everything is
Oscar, I'm not
uh,
sure.
perfect. And thank you very much. So, Oscar, all yours. Just introduce yourself, please. How old are you? What are you doing for a living? And where do you live? And why are you interested in Manichaeism? Thank you.
All right, I'm Oscar Manzano. I live in Texas, United States. I got interested in Manichaeism, like he said, around 3 years ago. And I had never heard of it before because, I mean, no one ever really talks about it except for very obscure scholars mostly. Um, and I found out about it through Candide by Voltaire. And then from there, I just started researching it, and here we are now. As for what I do, I don't want to get into too many details because I don't want to dox myself. But essentially, I just watch cameras, I work at night, and that's basically it. Um, I think that's about it.
Perfect. Perfect. And can you just tell us how do you know Daniel?
I met Daniel through the Manichaeism Discord server. Um,
Perfect. So we go back there very soon. So, Daniel, can you just introduce yourself to us? I'm very pleased that we are having both of you today. So, I hope you're doing well. Just tell us about yourself. What are you doing? Who are you? And why are you interested in Manichaeism?
Yeah, so my name's Daniel. I've been interested in Manichaeism for about 4 years. It all started with my studies. I'm a biblical scholar at both bachelor and MA level. Uh, I've had a very special interest in Gnosticism, especially Badaisen. And Badaisen led me to Mani, and I joined a Facebook group called Manichaeism, where I met Cole Nelson. Now, he was a practicing Manichaean. He was recording himself praying, and that really sparked my interest. He had a website. It's a very primitive website now called the Column of Glory, but it's basically he was trying to reconstruct Manichaeism. And I said, well, look, I'm really good at doing websites. I'm a really good admin. So let's make the Ekklesia of Light. So this is where the Ekklesia of Light really started. This was about 3 years ago. And here we are today talking with you, um, with about 16 members and over 100 members on the website. So, it's been quite a development over the past 3 years. And yeah, that's me.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. Thank you very much. I have a question for both of you. So I love that both of you answer to this question. When we go for upcoming question, uh, either of you can answer for those questions. For these ones, please be specific and just give us your answer, both of you. Then we will go to the general questions. So before we dig in, please tell me what do you think is Manichaeism and how do you specifically believe in which version of Manichaeism? Before you answer, let me just give kind of discussion for the listeners. Uh, in any religion, we have a kind of different belief systems. You have extremists, you have Puritanists, you have uh, those who are mostly into ritual, you have those who just believe in something, and we have someone that just took a name and okay, I am, for example, a Christian, and he do nothing, anything about Christianity, just hold the names, and okay, my father was, so I'm one of them, and so on and so forth. So even in one religion that is live today, like Islam or Christianity, you can have uh, different kind of definition for the same religion and same practice. So please tell me, what do you think is Manichaeism, and how your Manichaeism would be if different from the original version? So because we begin with Oscar, I think Oscar can answer the first, and then we go for the Daniel.
All right. Well, obviously it's a dualistic religion, so the way I personally kind of view things is I kind of view well, positive actions and deeds as coming from the realm of light, and obviously dark coming from, well, flesh, dark. So I kind of view our actions as being influenced by one or the other, and that's what causes good or evil in the world. Um, I mean, it's. I think it's a really good religion. One of the main things that drew me to it was the problem of evil, and I believe that it solves the problem of evil much better. As for how this version would be different, it would be probably much tamer than the previous religions or version.
Okay, so thank you, Daniel.
Yeah. So let's differentiate between the historical Manichaeism and the neo-Manichaeism of today. Uh, let's start with today. We don't have a functioning elect as they did in the historical church. The elect in Manichaeism, we have two offices. There are the elect who wear the white robes. They are the priestly class, and then you have the auditors, the hearers, who are the catechumens or the laity. Um, they work in a symbiotic relationship. So it's absolutely fundamental to have both the elect and the hearers. Without the two, then essentially there is no salvation. However, I will come back to this point later in terms of the Monday ceremony and how Neo Manichaeism addresses this issue. Um, but in a nutshell, Manichaeism is a dualistic Gnostic tradition. It's very syncretic. Um, as Oscar said, it believes in two eternal principles, light and darkness, spirit and matter. We believe Prophet Mani is our illuminator who shows us the path of redemption through gnosis or knowledge. We believe in four messengers. The third is the primary and central messenger, which is Christ the King, the first man, and then Jesus the apostle of the historical Christ. And we believe that these two fundamental principles are in a constant, they're both equal in power and they're at war with each other, essentially. We also believe in three times, so three epochs of history. There's the first time, the second time, and then the third time. The first time was when the light and darkness was totally separate. And then at some point in this linear vision of time, the darkness became aware of the light and it started to lust after the light. And it started an invasion into the realm of light. And then the Father of Greatness started to emanate different emanations, etc., which then caused this catechism to create the middle realm or the many earths or our cosmos as we see it today, which is essentially a mixture of both light and darkness because of the sacrifice of the first man, which was an emanation of the Father of Greatness. Um, I don't know how far you want me to go with this, but essentially these are the basic principles. And we believe that Mani is the seal of the prophets. There are no prophets after him. He has revealed the fullness. He is the paraclete. He fulfills Matthew 25, the Great Commission. And it is in him we follow his precepts and teachings.
Perfect. So Then I would love to know. Okay, if you have, if you're not finished, please continue.
No, no, continue with the question.
Okay, sorry. Uh, so, as I understood from both of your discussion, you believe that neo-Manichaeism is different to what it used to be, especially because we don't have the structure, if you will, that used to be there when money created the Manichaeism. So, discussing that, can you um tell us what is your um, uh, belief? What do you think something can be Manichaeism when there is not so much text, especially uh, scholarly approved text or academic text that says, okay, this is the things that is really Manichaean. The real question is how do you define something to be a Manichaean belief? You know, in this belief system, how do you differentiate what you do from the duality that exists, for example, in Chinese belief or in any other Gnostic religion which is practicing today? So how can you say this is Manichaean and this is not?
Yeah. Well, I guess we do have enough texts, we have enough fragments, we have enough secondary sources to say to differentiate Manichaeism with traditional Gnosticism, for example. Traditional Gnostics were dualistic, but they weren't dualistic in their ontology. Manichaeism is dualistic in its ontological understanding of the two principles of darkness and light. Therefore, to be a Manichaean today, we have to believe in the two principles. That is fundamental. The three times. We know that there are three epochs of history, or salvation history, and we are now living in these end times. And like you say, as you address the question, how can we be Manichaeans today without the elect? Well, we can look at the scriptures and the fragments, and we can read about how, um, you know, in the last days there will be less light because the light is continually being purified. If we think about Manichaeism historically, um, the Manichaeans believed that there is a mechanism, a cosmic mechanism that is purifying the light and darkness. It's continuous. We have the great builder who's uprooting and trying to contain the darkness. The maiden of light is pouring down her grace in the rains on the decay and the corruption. And it's a constant battle until there is only a remnant of light left. And this will be the end of times where the purification happens. Now, when we relate this to neo-Manichaeism, I'll just bring up the prophecy. In neo-Manichaeism, we believe that this is an evil age, therefore, uh, we have less light within us. So Mani and the believers in the third century, there was a lot more light back then. The final messenger was there, so they could live by the precepts. Today, it's a more evil age, and it's a totally different context. Um, on the website, what we have is the prophecy from one of the homilies, which I think it really speaks essentially about neo-Manichaeism today, because this is what we're doing. It says, "It was once prophesied that 1,000 books will be preserved; they will come into the hand of the just and the faithful. The gospel and the treasury of life, the pragmatea, and the book of mysteries, the book of giants and the epistles, the psalms and the prayers of my Lord, his icon and his revelations. 1,000 lost, another 1,000 recovered, for they will find them at the end. They will kiss them and say, O wisdom of greatness, O armor of the apostle of light. When you were lost, where did they find you? And you shall find them reading them aloud, uttering the name of each book among them, the name of its Lord. and the name of those who gave all for it to be written, and the name of the scribe who wrote it, and the one who punctuated it. This is in Homilies 23:13 to 25. Essentially, we believe that now this prophecy has been fulfilled because we're compiling these texts, we are restoring the lost art, we are praying the prayers, we are meeting as a body of a community, the Ekklesia, and in relation to the elect, we have a Monday ceremony that has been reenacted in the sense that we call upon the heavenly elect on Monday, we pray and confess to them our sins, and we give our food, the vegetarian, the holy sacred meal, either to the poor or out to nature. And this will be up until we have a functioning elect. Um, yeah, Oscar, if you've got anything you want to add.
I'd like to say that there are actually a good number of different Manichaean texts that have survived. There are plenty of different parables. There are a lot of different psalms and prayers. There's the Shaburagan, which actually has a good amount of. We have a lot of that. There's On the Origin of His Body. There's Book of Giants fragments. There are epistle fragments and some complete epistles. And there are even some living gospel fragments. So I think people really underestimate how many texts there are. We also have a lot of the Kephaleia. That's about all I have to say there.
Okay, so uh, thank you both. Can you, one of you, either of you, no matter, tell us what is the structure of your church? How do you preach? How do you do the rituals? What is the um, um, uh, um, core building of your church, and how do you looking for teachers and I don't know elects or whatever it is that you do in Manichean? Please give us a notion that what it used to be and what do you do today that may be different to what we used to have. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, well, to look at the historical structure of the church and how we envision the Ekklesia of Light to be in the future, we can look at the website. It's on the About Us webpage, and we go down to the structure of the church. So historically, you had the Archegos. He was like the Pope, the leader of the church. And then you had the 12 apostles. The 12 apostles were invaluable. You know, they played the vital role in establishing Manichean communities in various locations. They would go out and do missionary work. Maramo, Marsisin, for example. These went out along the Silk Road on the trade routes, spreading Manichaeism. Um, they would also be leaders within the communities, the local communities. They would collaborate with archbishops. They would teach and instruct, assist in rituals and ceremonies, provide spiritual guidance. And then you would have 72 bishops. These bishops would have key positions within the Manichaean community, and they would oversee the episcopate or the locality or a region of a church within a regional area. And then they would obviously oversee the clergy, the presbyters, and the laity, the elect. And if we go further down, we've got 360 presbyters. They would assist church leadership, the bishops, and they, and then in turn they would contribute and serve the local communities. They would provide sermons, etc., spiritual uh, um, spiritual guidance, and yeah, I guess like a priest in a normal church or an imam in a mosque today would function, as a presbyter, a pastor. They would also conduct the ritual and participate within the ritual. They would teach. They would engage with the local community, as I said, and they would also, um, you know, make people create disciples who would go out and spread the word, because we have to remember Manichaeism was a missionary organization. It spread the way it did because they were missionaries. I guess, I would hate to say it, but like the Jehovah's Witnesses of today, in the sense that they were so eager, they would go door to door and they would be proclaiming the gospel of Mani, the revealed truth. And there's a great video on YouTube just to see how Manichaeism spread so quickly along these trade routes on the Silk Road. It's truly amazing. And the way that it amalgamated with the local uh, and cultural differences, that it would absorb it within its theological and cosmological framework. This is the beauty of Manichaeism. And just to go down through back to the structure of the church, we'd have scribes, lectors, deacons, and then the elect. Um, the elect are obviously the general body who, are absolutely fundamental in purifying the light. This, on the Monday ceremony, the hearers would prepare the food for them, because the elect cannot prepare food. They cannot, pluck an apple from a tree or a carrot from out the ground, because this is causing harm against the cross of light. Um, so the hearers will prepare the food and the elect would then eat it. And the bodily functions, it's almost like the human body is a microcosm of the universe. So we have this purifying system within us. So when they would eat the vegetables, they would purify the light, and the light would then ascend back up to the moon, uh, or to the sun, to these stations where they would be judged by the great judge. And then if they were evil, they would be sent back down to earth. And if they were good, then they would be ferried up in the ships of light, up the column of glory, and into the aeon of light. And then at the very bottom, we have the hearers. And this is in the Neo-Manichaean church. As we said, there are no elects. We are all hearers. I myself am a hearer who prays 4 times a day. I fast on a Sunday, which is today. So today is a fast until evening. And I will be trying to fast on Mondays as well. The elect would fast both on Sunday and Mondays. Sunday is a holy day. Monday is especially holy in the sense that this is where the Monday ceremony comes into play, where we would prepare the sacred meal and give it to the elect. And today, what we do, like I said earlier, is we call upon the immortal elect who are living in the aeon of light. I guess you can relate this to Taoism and the immortals, or intercession of the saints within Christianity. And it is definitely scriptural. If we read the prayer of emanations, which we recite 4 times a day, you're calling upon all those who have gone before us, who have ascended back up to the light, to bless us as we invoke their names, that they may forgive us our sins. And then we place the sacred meal out either to the poor or to nature. And that's the way we have to do it up until we have a functioning elect, which we do plan and hopefully will have in place once we have um, local communities. Like myself, I have a house church. This is something the Ekklesia is really trying to push forward now, that we focus on our localities. The internet serves as the international hub, and where everybody can meet from the global arena. And then we have our localities. So for me, Norway, I have my house church, and we are planting one in the UK. There's going to be a study group in Australia. We have Texas, Florida, and Canada. And yeah, I think Oscar can probably fill you more in terms of the United States and what's going on there. But primarily for me, I am living the faith. We are reading scriptures together as family. We are blessing the food with the ritual prayers. And it is a lived faith. This is not an academic endeavor. It is something we believe, and it is a living and breathing tradition.
Perfect. So, Oscar, can you just give us a hint what's going on in the United States?
Yes. So right now, at least, like Ryan said, we do we do meet online in a call. Every Sunday. All of us will meet up, or as many as can be there. Right now, I myself I'm in Texas. So as of now, my main sort of priority for proselytizing is, well, flyers, as well as ads actually for my local area, as to hopefully get people interested around here. Um, and from there, once we get more people interested here, then we can start doing much more to go proselytize. Um, as for Florida, it's generally the same sort of strategy. Those would be the main two places that's most active. We do have somebody in Pennsylvania, um, among others. I don't know where their state is, but that's generally what's going on here in the U.S. And then obviously we follow all the rituals, etc.
Perfect. So, generally, how many real believers are you in your church now, and how many people are willing to join that are not joined yet? So give us a hint that how many members do you really have around the world, and we will see later.
Right now there are 16 total. Um, and that's globally, that's all over the place. As for people wanting to join, there has been a lot of interest, mostly through Discord and Reddit and YouTube, is how we've generally been finding people who are actually interested. Um, the ones that are really interested generally will message one of us, and we take it from there. Um, but it's mostly just about finding people right now, I think, and generally just getting outreach. So it's kind of important that we actually do have an active online presence.
Okay, perfect. Uh, so, just speaking of the missionaries, especially today using internet and so on, one thing that was very, very useful in the earlier stages of the Christianity was uh, philosophers tried to provide huge body of text using their belief system to address the problem of the world. So, uh, and they turned a simple religion and make a kind of world religion out of it with the body of philosophical text that they provide. And it seems that from the early uh, uh, mm, um, times that Manicheans faced this issue, they were not good at providing philosophical takes. We will come to Augustine very soon, but despite that, what is your plan for today? Are you having a kind of plan to provide a kind of philosophical text based on Manichaean beliefs or not?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I mean, I would disagree that the Manichaeans were very bad at defending their faith. I guess in terms of contra Faustum with Augustine, we have to think that Faustus was probably dead by the time Augustine was writing this um, polemic against Faustus. So we have to be very careful here. Um, in the modern day, of course, we have, let's look at the problem of evil. This is something that people are struggling. We see, especially in the West, where things are becoming rather unstable. There's war in Europe. There is, uh, what's happening in the US with the election, what's happening in Gaza and Israel. And, you are starting to see a resurgence of faith, especially amongst the youngest generation. There are Christian revivals as people converting to Islam. And I think Manichaeism definitely does have a message very applicable for today because it addresses the problem of evil that monotheism cannot address. In monotheism, you know, like the great physicists of today, they will say that they are agnostic simply because if there was a God, he's either too weak to stop evil or he is evil himself for creating evil. Now, Manichaeism can easily answer that question by saying, well, no, the cosmos is evil because we have two principles that are equal in power, but essentially because of the love and the self sacrifice of the Father through the first man and the five sons who went down to fight the darkness and gave themselves, the darkness swallowed the light. And then this cataclysm happened wherein the darkness becomes enmeshed with or encased within in the light, vice versa. So we have this corruption and decay within our cosmos, and it's an ongoing process. So this is why we still have evil. This is why bad things happen. This is why I have early onset Parkinson's disease, for example. It's why some children are born with leukemia. It's why we have the suffering in Gaza. It's why there's war. And, essentially everything that is bad that happens in the world is because of the darkness. Also, I wanted to point out and highlight specifically, this point. Manichaeans are not uh, they do not hate the world. They do not want to escape it. What Manichaeans believe in is that we want to purify the light from the darkness. And we have to remember that the great builder and the maiden of light and all the deities, Jesus the splendor, the aeons of light are continually trying to contain the darkness, like I said before. So it's an ongoing battle until the end of times, but we know that the darkness is lost. And in the end, it will be cast into the bolos along with whatever remaining, if somebody has been very evil and has a lot of darkness within them, then they will too be locked in the bolos and will no longer be a threat. And the great builder will then make a new creation that is devoid of any corruption. It will be pure without death and decay. So, problems of evil, theodicy, we can answer those questions. We can also relate to cosmology and quantum theory, the idea of the multiverse. If we read from the Shabaragan, it is clear that there are many Earths, many cosmoses. Is a multi-level or multifaceted um, cosmology, which allows for this idea that the Big Bang, because the standard model, because the James Webb Telescope today, it is challenging this idea that there was only one Big Bang. We now know that the Big Bang is probably a consequence of previous Big Bangs, and that there is probably a whole pleroma of universes out there, parallel universes. And Manichaeism can answer these, give answers to these great and philosophical questions about why we exist, why we have to suffer, how do we get out of this cycle of suffering, etc. Um, yeah, that they're the points that I really want to hone in on because this is what Manichaeism can answer for the people today, and that it is a universal religion. It doesn't have a single locality that says this is where the house of God is. Our God transcends this fallen cosmos, but at the same time, he's immanent as well because the light is within all things. So we hold creation to be sacred at the same time. Therefore, we can address issues such as climate change. We want to combat, you know, by having a vegetarian diet, we can cut down on the suffering of animals who are being industrially farmed, etc. So Manichaeism is very relevant for today.
Perfect. So, you think someone will one day will write a body of text that address today's issue using Manichaean beliefs?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Uh,
You know, it's something that I guess we're doing. By you asking these questions, it's being recorded, and we're using the internet as a virtual Silk Road. We're restoring or making new artwork, and we're also writing things down, articles, blog posts. These are the mediums that Manichaeans use today in the contemporary context. Like in the historical perspective, they would use codices or frescoes. We use Photoshop or, yeah, different mediums, social mediums.
Perfect. Also, do you have something to add, or I can go for the next question?
Yeah, another thing I wanted to add was real quick. If I want to quote from actually a Book of Mysteries fragment. Uh, the carcass prevents the soul from rising, that it is a prison and a painful punishment to the soul. If this human figure were a real existence, its creator would not let it wear out and suffer injury. It would not have compelled it to reproduce itself by the sperm in the uterus. I think another philosophical or even more pragmatic aspect, is honestly, is Manichaeism follows antinatalism and promotes adoption more so than having your own children, which, as of now, there's 8 billion people, and that obviously does not have the best consequences for Earth. And there are many, many unfortunate children that do not have a family or home. So I think that's something else that's beneficial. That's it. That's it. Carry on.
Okay, perfect. As you mentioned, Daniel, Manicheans tend to be vegetarians. I don't want to dig into different types of vegetarians today. We have, I don't know, the vegan, vegetarians, full vegan. There are a lot of uh, names attached to eating vegetables today that I really cannot know all of them. So, uh, uh, do you think the uh, hearers of Manicheans belief, especially in your church, all of them are vegans, or with any kind of definition? You can define the vegetarians, then say that, okay, our hearers are vegans or not, and then if so, are you having a local farm that, for example, provide the food to bless, or I don't know, because you don't have a elect to give the food for the bless of the to receive the bless from the elect, and then if based on your structure that you are um, diverse around the world and living in different parts of the world, how these believers or Manicheans, neo-Manicheans, uh, are eating or are living their life. And just after that, let us know what is your community approach toward austerity, because Manicheans also tends to live a kind of austerity life.
Yeah, no, they're really good. It's a very good question, and I just want to correct you on. It's the hearers don't are not commanded to be vegetarian. They are, we try to promote vegetarianism with the hearers, but it's the elect who have to be I guess would be vegan today. However, and also that it's the hearers who prepare the food for the elect. The elect cannot prepare the food. Now, coming back to how we want the elect to live today, and hearers who want to take maybe extra vows, like myself, We do say that the elect will have to be vegan unless, they have health issues like myself, then, it would be vegetarian or pescatarian diets. We have to take this very responsibly and also accept that we are living in a more evil age. Therefore, we can allow for these sorts of reforms. We see that the earlier church made reforms, and truly believe that any living faith, if it is truly living, it has to reform and adapt to the local to the contemporary age, because if not, it just becomes a living museum. We are not reenactors. We are not a living museum. We are a living and breathing faith that is adapting to our global, interconnected, meta-modern age. And therefore, by meeting online, the hearers, we do expect, that we try and at least, fast on a Sunday. And then when we have our meal on a Monday or Sunday, that it's vegetarian, that we reduce our meat intake. And, if I become an elect, for example, then I will have to live, I'll have to ask my doctor, because I've got Parkinson's disease, what is the best diet for me? And this is very contextual. It will vary from person to person. But essentially, the rule is the elect is vegan, the hearers, that they choose a day, Sunday or Monday, to be vegetarian and reduce the meat intake. But, it's not against the commandments to not eat meat as a hearer, and it never has been.
Perfect. So please continue with the life of austerity. Do you recommend this kind of life, or any of you in this church have a kind of austerity life or not? Especially because of using of kind of internet to connect to each other, how you justify that?
Yeah, well, I guess, the austerity, we, I live in Norway, Oscar lives in the US. The majority of us are from the West. Norway is one of the richest countries in the world, and it has a very good welfare system. I cannot work because of this disease, um, you know, but it's, we're not to be frivolous. We're meant to give our money freely to charity, that we don't be, we're not buying material things or material wealth, that we focus on the spiritual life, the virtuous life, which is obviously by giving alms both to the poor, to the church. And yes, essentially, when we do have an elect, like I said to you the other when we talked the other day, that we would essentially, for me, I have a property area where an elect could live, and essentially they could live on that property and be supported by the local community, the house church. Um, this model won't work everywhere. We have to think very contextual. It's not going to work, for people in, let's say from Florida to Texas. Of course, digital meetings are going to be the main thing, but that's not unusual. This is, like I said before, the internet is the modern day Silk Road. And uh, the way the church has been funded so far has really been from our own money. We haven't taken loans out to build the church. We have invested our money because we believe that this money, this message is, something for the good of mankind today. It has a real message that can speak to many people, and therefore, I believe the money that we've invested is for the common good, by restoring these ancient fragments and building a living and breathing Manichaean faith today.
Perfect. So I think next question, if Oscar, because he was quiet for a while, if he answer is better, I guess. Can you tell us how do you um, uh, do your living as a Manichean in 21st century? Uh, not only based on uh, your life as a modern person, but as a Manichean, that's you uh, do kind of your personal ritual, especially Manicheans used to have a lot of rituals for daily and monthly, yearly, whatever. Uh, how do you justify your life with all these different kind of rituals with countless, not countless, but a lot of uh, priests all the day?
Well, for me personally, my I guess daily rituals, etc., or whatever. For me, it's mainly prayer, honestly, and generally just working on all of the church stuff because there is a lot to do all the time. And I consider that to be my main sort of almsgiving. And then I also live by the principles of Manichaeism, which do honestly help me on a day to day basis because I can remind myself of many different aspects of the Manichaean faith and remember generally like how to act, I suppose. We also follow the different holidays, the Yimkis, and different um, rituals, I suppose. Bima is important, and we intend on doing that uh, more formally in the future. The last time it was primarily just prayer online. I mean, there's not a whole ton we could have done because we don't have a whole group in person yet. Um, that's about it.
Perfect, thank you. And do you think the Western Manichean is different to Eastern Manichean?
Yes, definitely. Um, the Chinese Manichaeans are definitely they're a branch of Manichaeism, I would say, and they are important and they are valid, I would say. But our version, I suppose, of Manichaeism is generally trying to be more, I guess, more orthodox than what the Chinese Manichaeans have become. We are actually in contact with a Chinese Manichaean, and he has been helping and he does approve of what we are doing.
Perfect. I saw that you mentioned you held a kind of Bima festival. How did you held this? It's just one time until in these last 3 4 years, or it was, I don't know how many time you held this festival, and are you going to have a kind of big Bima festival for the upcoming years, or what is the plan with that?
Um, so previous years before this last year, we did not have one, mostly because the church wasn't formed enough to be able to have one. Really, there weren't enough members, or it, life happens really. But we will be having more formal ones in the future. Um, and as of now, until we have a body in person, we will be mostly online, sadly. But eventually, we can do a more traditional one someday down the line whenever we do have um, more formal churches established and we have actual groups of people in one place that can actually do a Bima more traditionally.
Perfect. So now let's go. Daniel, do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on the Bema Festival because this goes a little bit back into the history of the church. Obviously, it's taken us a very long time to formulate, to fully understand Manichaeism, to pull all the fragments together, to build the Holy Compendium, to bring the holy icons back. You know, it's been we've had to lay the groundwork first and then build up, and now we're at the position where we have living in real life meetings and digital. And I think with the Bema Festival, we have a book, by the way, which is free of charge, living the Manichaean, a practical guide for living the Manichaean faith today. which lists all the festivities, the high feasts, the Bema festival, and their dates. And I think what we are planning on doing, at least, like Oscar said, in the very near future, that we will arrange to meet at a place, whether it's in Norway, the United States, or whatever, and we will meet as a group in real life, coming together at one location and celebrating Bema Festival, for example. That's just what I wanted to say at that point.
Perfect. Speaking of this compendium that you mentioned, are you trying to revive Manichean traditions like scribing the books? I don't know, designing and drawing some artistic forms, or not? Based on the text that we already have, or the new ones. You can create new forms, or what are you doing now? Are you trying to revive something?
Yes, we are reviving. We do the compendium. I mean, Oscar's probably better at answering this. I will just quickly note that we have compiled and edited the Shabaragan. We've compiled and edited the Book of Giants. We're currently working on the epistles, and we're going to recreate the Book of Pictures. But I'm going to allow Oscar this honor because he's the one who's been pulling all these fragments together. I've just been the editor. So,
Yeah, like Daniel said, we have many different texts, and I said that earlier. And the main thing has been finding them all and putting them all together. Well, putting it back together, I guess. It is encouraged, I suppose, to create your own different, I guess, explanations or stuff like that. As we have a blog on our website, which I write different explanations for different theological explanations for things. And I think it's really good for people to do that so that they can give their own opinions and just generally talk about it, because I think that's important to be able to more firmly establish your own beliefs. We have been restoring the art. I absolutely adore the art. So we've put a lot of money into all of those art pieces. Each art piece generally costs around $100 to recreate. So, but later down the line, what I hope to do is I hope to pair different Manichaean texts that we have with different art pieces after we get all of them recreated, which is something I intend to do. Is every single fragment that we have from the Book of Pictures or just Manichaean art in general, I would like to have recreated, as well as some of the now completely lost art pieces that we can read about in the Ardang Wifras. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but I'm sure I butchered it, but it's okay. Which are basically sermons that were on the Book of Pictures. In those, and in some Kephaleia, there are different descriptions of art pieces, which obviously, like I said, they are lost, but we have those descriptions so we can make new art pieces based off of those. And I do think it's important that we create new art pieces as well, just of different theological concepts or things that we think would be a good Manichaean art piece. And I think that's also important because it's a living faith. It's not a reenactment, like Daniel said earlier. So it's a lot of work, but I definitely would say it's worth it.
Perfect, thank you. And okay, Daniel, if you have something to say, please.
yeah, I just want to say as well that we are making, modern day epistles that we do write, like you said, Oscar said, on the blog. But not only the blog, we have different YouTube channels. There's the Manichaean Education channel. There's my channel, the Manichaean Path. There's Valentina777 who reads the scriptures daily. But we also write epistles, modern day epistles to the church or to the seekers. I like to call it, the seekers of the light. And, this is part of the tradition. And like Oscar said, the modern day art. that I've made, for example, on Photoshop, or others have drawn themselves, this will be incorporated within the new compendium and the new book of pictures. So it's continuing the tradition, a living tradition.
Perfect, perfect. It's very, very amazing to know this new episodes that you're working on. That would be great. Uh, so let's get some serious question for you. We talked about Augustine before, but let me give set the scene and then you can give an answer. Please let us know if you have until now, because as you said, you don't have a kind of elect or teacher or whatever, and you consider yourself, both of you, a hearer. But let me know that if you have any answer to claim of the existence of the Augustine. Let me just explain what is it for the people that's listening this, and then you can answer. Augustine claims that Manichean says we have two realms, the realm of light and the realm of darkness. And the realm of light includes only and only and only and only good stuff, it's good things, light stuff, whatever. And the realm of light, realm of the darkness includes only and only and only and only the bad things. So nothing is in between that is good in the realm of darkness, and nothing is that includes something bad that is inside the realm of light. So, and he claimed, I found one, and he proposed that existence itself is both inside the realm of darkness and the realm of light, because both of them exist in the same time. You cannot say they do not exist. If the existence is inside the both realm, it means this should precede these two realms. That's simple. And this problem of the existence that Augustine mentioned, Faustus couldn't provide an answer, and it's funny that Augustine mentioned that also he was a good man and tried his best to defend Manichaean belief. Uh, he was wise enough to say that I don't know, I don't have any answer for this question when I don't have one. So also he admires Faustus for saying, okay, I don't know these things. Maybe you have to ask someone else, and consider that Faustus was the one who was supposed to know the answer, because the local guys that was in charge of the Carthage during the time that Augustine lives there, he was constantly talking to Augustine about different things. He said, "Hey guy, you're asking me questions that you don't know. You have to wait. Faustus comes. He know everything. Then he comes, and he couldn't provide some answer. He had a battle, but with Augustine, he have a lot of answers and not answers, whatever we can say. But the main problem with the Augustine belief or Augustine challenge was a challenge of existence. So I'm not sure if you have any answer for that. Just give this to us, and then we will go to the challenges that Mani himself faced in the East. So, do you have any answer for the existence?
Yes, I mean, I guess let's start with the Contra Faustum, because this was written posthumously, in the sense that Faustus wasn't answering Augustine in real time. He'd probably died at this point. Um, and Augustine, he developed his own system that developed into the sort of the totally depraved, the Calvinistic theology that you have within Reformed traditions today, the Western Church. Whereas I would disagree with Augustine on a lot of things. for example, yes, we have the two principles, but we have to remember that creation, this cosmos, this world that we live in, is one of many. And it's this specific world where the darkness becomes mixed with the light, or the shards of light get trapped in matter. Now, I can read from the Shaburagan the construction of the earths in the plural. And it says, and again, the living spirit donned three garments from the purification of wind, water, and fire, and went down to the dark earth. And in order to create the great building, the new paradise over it, he filled in the five graves of death and made them even. And corresponding to the heavens, he layered and put down over the dark earth four layers of hot wind, darkness, fire, and water, one on top of the other. And he let one wall go down from the light earth eastward, then southward, and finally westward, and connected it back to the light earth again. Then he made another great earth and placed it on top of the layers. And he made the god Paramangan or Atlas housemaster over it. And on the earth, within the first wall, he made another wall toward the east, south, and west. Also with the three regions, three columns, and five arches, one from the end of the wall to the west, the western column, and the second from the western column to the southern, etc. So what we have here is this idea that, this universe that we live in is a direct copy of or at least it's a corrupted copy of the Aeon of Light, because in the beginning it talks about the Aeon of Light having mountains, its hills with fragrant flowers, and basically what we have here as a result of this war that happened in the first time, the cosmos is let's think of the Aeon of Light as being the perfect copy of our cosmos, whilst the realm of darkness is a perfect copy of the, totally depraved and fallen cosmos. And let's think of this in the middle realm. We have our cosmos, which is a mixture of the two. So it's both good and corrupted. So, I think it's wrong to say that there's these only two existences, because our existence is in between. So we are in the epoch of the second time. And then when we come to the third time, it talks about the great builder, he's uprooting the trees and trying to contain the darkness. If we read on here from the Shabaragan, it says, let's have a look here. It goes on to say, let's have it here. Yes, he also made photos of the angels, and it talks about, that you know the demons bring the death and decay to the trees, and then the Maiden of Light is pouring down her rains to regenerate the creation. When we pray the prayer of emanations, we talk about the five great lights who maintain our existence, who continually maintain the cosmos. So this is an ongoing thing where the light is trying to contain the darkness is trying to overcome the light, but essentially the darkness is lost because of the eschatological hope that the system of purification will then burn away everything that is wrong, and the demons will be cast down into the bolos forever, and no longer will they be a threat. So, it's the eschatological hope where we see this new creation again, the perfected creation.
Perfect. Also, do you have something to add, or I can ask this question?
You can ask the next
No, I
question.
think that
Okay. Okay, so I consider nothing. Now let's go to the east, where when Mani went to India himself, and he was talking to these Indian guys, he had a serious problem with the incarnation. Let's set the scene first before we talk, and then we can see what was the problem. uh, in Indian version of the reincarnation, we have uh, different steps and different groups of people that goes into the cycle of reincarnation. So I try to avoid technical words so everyone can understand. Imagine when I die as a simple human. If I was good, I was doing good, whatever. I will go to the next group of entities or lives that is good. Then I will become alive as a kind of Raja. Then, if I was good enough, I will go to the next part, which is a kind of Brahma. And if I'm good, then if I die as a Brahma, I will go to the realm of God. And then this is where things get salty. If someone dies in a realm of light in the heaven, what will happen? In Indian belief, he will go directly to the hell because the light, the soul, whatever it is, cannot be more pure. It's end, it's finished. You kind of got okay. So you have to start a new love right at the beginning. And what was the beginning? Absolute chaos. So you will go down into the hell and you will come up from different kind of animals to different kind of human body and forms and then all the way up. However, in Manichean belief, uh, this reincarnation is not happening because something is finished, going to be finished. It happens because of another reason. It happens because this uh, captivated light, if you will, should be pure enough to be released and go to the realm of light using uh, different parts or I don't know how to say the moon, sun, and the new heaven, if you will. And if it is inside the realm of light, it won't go back to the hell. It won't go back to the realm of the darkness. And in Manichaean cosmology, we have a lot of groups of gods and angels that's looking for these released particles of light in different part of the universe, from the column of glory to whatever else. Each part are supervised with a kind of god or let's say light creature, if you will, that is looking forward this released light so it cannot go back to the hell and come back again. So what's your opinion? What's the problem that this Indian beliefs with this reincarnation proposed to money?
Yeah, well, I don't really see, from my perspective, the idea is that the light comes down from it's the light descends down into this material plane that we live in this cosmos. The realm, the aeon of light is above us. It's above the column of glory, which is the Milky Way, right? So let's go back to the cosmology. We have the aeon of light that is that transcends. We go up the column of glory, these ships of light, and then we come into the aeon of light. The realm of darkness is below. This is separate, but at the same time, it's our world where we live and move and have our being is the mixture between darkness and light. So what happens is with reincarnation, for example, we all have a shard of light within us. Everything in creation has a shard of light. It also has darkness within it. So if we live a virtuous life, for example, we live a good life and we die, our soul will ascend the shard of light and it will come to the great judge. The great judge will judge whether this soul has been good or not. If it's been good, it will then step onto a ship of light where it will then ascend through the Milky Way, the column of glory, and receive its diadem in the aeon of light. Whereas an evil person, he will be heavy with darkness, so he will go back down. Now, if he's lived a very mediocre life, let's say, you know, he's never heard the message, let's just say the average John Doe or John Doe guy. Um, he's going to come back down as either an animal or maybe a blade of grass or a vegetable or whatever. The cycle continues until the purification process is over. So in essence, I think it makes more sense from a Manichaean perspective than I guess Buddhism. It seems to give a clear indication of what happens with this shard of light, that the light mind, or everything has a shard of the divine, the great father, these emanations, the mother of life. If we go through them, um, the the first man or primal man, the mother of life, births or emanates out the five sons, and this is the maiden of light, and we have all these gods and aeons and luminaries. But essentially, it's we who are existing, all plant life, fish, the birds of the air, um, even down to the tiniest forms of bacteria, or everything has a shard of light within it. Therefore, it's this we have this purification making process within the cosmic order that is continually processing the light out of creation. Like I said, the great builders uprooting the dead trees and pulling out the darkness and planting new ones, etc. So I think, from my perspective, it makes more sense. I don't know, maybe um, because of our advances in science and anthropology and biology, maybe it makes more sense today in our world because of what we know compared to the ancients. We know a lot more about how, biological functions or the cosmic order or quantum theory, etc. We have a lot more knowledge than the ancients, and therefore I think it makes a lot more sense what man is saying today, for me personally at least. Maybe your listeners might agree or may not. It would be very interesting to find out.
I'd
Okay,
also
thank.
like to add briefly there's a quote in the Kephaleia. 15 paths are drawn out in the zone. 4 paths are pure and belong to the light, leading up to life. 8 other paths are mixed, leading above from that place. The light shall go up and become free through them, be purified and go into the ships. However, the waste is separated and thrown down to transmigration, and the other 3 paths of waste discharged to the Gehennas.
Perfect. Thank you. Uh, Speaking of the dead guys, let's see. Talk about the end of the time. I have two questions according to the end of time. First, do you think that currently we are living in the kind of end of time era based on the belief of money? Because he, according to his notes, uh, after a while, there would be no one that knows the original message of the prophet money, and no one so cares about releasing his light, his captivated light. So in that time, when the angels or Jesus Splendor, whoever, uh, wants to uh, how do you say they came to understanding that no one will release his light, he will stop everything, then the end of time will begin, and Atlas will release the earth will fallen, the time will stop, the uh, above skies will fall on the ground, everything apocalyptic will happens, and then the uh, last light will be uh, burned into the fire for thousands years, and finally the light will be pure, and the uh, light and darkness will be separated again, and the Lord of the Darkness will be go down to the whole land will be they will seal the uh, well of the Lord of the Darkness, and everything will be finished. So, because no one today is for I don't know how many years, 300 years, 400 years, 1,000 years, however you want to count it, I don't know. No one cares about releasing his uh, light according to money. Do you think we are living in the kind of apocalyptic era of the end of the time, or no, it's not near? How do you see it?
Well, let's go back to when I quoted from the prophecy. It says in the end times that the books will be restored, etc. So now we're living in the end times. Whether the apocalypse, I guess apocalypse is wrong. Let's use the end times. Um, the end time, nobody knows but the Father, Jesus says. So we lay that in God's hands. However, if we read from the Shabu Ragan, we can, I won't go through everything, but we can just go through it very briefly. It talks about what happens. Um, so after the battle, the powers of darkness will be struck down, and every single person will hold his own light. Those who follow the truth and do good deeds will dwell in joy. They will be friends and fond of each other, and fighting will subside. Great happiness will come unto the religious ones together with their helpers. They will be serving the living spirit. They will teach wisdom and knowledge to those who seek it. Lust, desire, demons, and witches will tremble before the torment of the final judgment. And this is where we come to the end times, the coming of the Son of Man. Um, we are the instructor. So it goes, though the demon through the demons, and will come to have mankind deceived, so that they would arrive and say, "We are the instructors of the gods." Or let's say these are the people of today, the atheists or the agnostics or the people who are saying there's no God or whatever. You know, followers in this path that we offer salvation. Mankind will mostly be deceived and proceed according to the will of their evil actions. Remembering Manichaeism, the soul is purely good. It cannot sin. The soul is encased within a body that is evil, right? So the soul is perfectly good because it comes from the Father of light. We must always remember within Manichaeism the two principles that, we are both good and evil. The good tree cannot produce bad fruit. Likewise, the evil tree cannot produce good fruit. That's the teaching of Mani. Now let's go on. So at the time, things will be like this in the world. Then there will appear a great sign on earth and in heaven, and on the sun and the moon and the constellations of the stars. Thereafter, God, power and wisdom, Jesus the splendor, who first gave that male creation, the original first male human wisdom and knowledge, and since each turn in each age has sent wisdom and knowledge to men in that last age too, close to the restoration. So we are living in the restoration. The God, power, and wisdom together with all the gods and the religious people will prepare. Then he will stand up in heaven, and a great cry will resound, and it will be announced in the universe. And these gods, sons of the living spirit, who are master of house, master of village, master of tribe, master of land, etc., they will praise God and wisdom, and those of mankind who are rulers in the world will come running to pay homage to him, and they will receive his orders, and the lustful and evil doing and tyrannous mankind will regret. Um, I'm not going to read all this text because it goes on for quite a while, but let's just say that what's happening is this is the end time. So Jesus the splendor has come down. This is where the judgment happens. So the helpers and the religious who stand on the right side, this is Jesus' splendor speaking, welcome, you through whom the blessed ones of time were righteous, because I was hungry and thirsty, and you gave me food. I was naked and clothed, and you clothed me. I was ill, and you healed me. I was bound, and you loosed me. I was captive, and you set me free. And I was an exile and a wanderer, and you your house. Then the helpers of the religious will bow low to him and will say to him, Lord, you are God and immortal, and lust, desire do not overcome you, and you do not become hungry and thirsty, and pain and ache do not reach you. What was it that we did when you? this service. And God, power, and wisdom says to them, that which you did, the religious, the service you did for me, I shall give you the reward of paradise. They become very happy. And then the evildoers, they are judged. And this is where the purification happens. So they are judged for their evil deeds. They're handed over to the angels. Um, and then what will happen? The elements will there'll be this cataclysm, and the whole universe or cosmos will go up in flames, which will then purify all matter and release the light. I believe in universal salvation, that essentially all the lights will be restored. Some people believe that some of the lights will remain with the darkness. Both views are equal and valid in the church. But what's very interesting is what happens afterwards, the coming of the vivifier. This is where the new creation will come into being. So, this is why we're not trying to escape eternity place. Yes, there is the aeon of light, but in the end, there is the eschatological hope of a new creation. The great builder will build a new creation free from corruption because darkness has been defeated through the sacrifice of the Father. And yeah, I'll leave Oscar to finish off.
Um, I think Daniel covered that pretty well, but um, I guess one thing I might add is that the reason everything doesn't just go up in flames immediately is because the Great Builder is still building the bolos, or prison, for the darkness to be trapped into. Um, I do believe in some of the light getting trapped, um, because to me that makes more sense. But like Daniel said, both views are completely valid. Um, I don't think I have anything else to add unless you have a specific question.
No, that's quite enough. Thank you. Just uh, one short questions. I wish to provide a short answer, and then I'll continue with the bigger one. Anyone in your church, including your also with yourself, and know the Manichean languages? Can you read the original text, and how much do you think that the academic researches are trustworthy for uh, for someone if you don't know, for example, this language? Consider that there are a lot of different groups with different interests that can translate the text into their views. Although the Manichaean belief do not interest anyone particularly today, but do you think these provided text or body of text, whatever, are trustworthy or not? And any of you or the other part of the church member can read the original text?
Uh,
This is a really good question, and I think it's really important because, as a biblical scholar, I can read Koine Greek, I can read a little bit of Hebrew. Um, However, I cannot read Middle Persian. I have started, or would like to start to read classical Syriac. Nobody can read the original languages. However, we are wanting to, promote within our members classes where they can learn the original languages. I think translations are very important. We do trust the scholarly translations. It's like the Bible. I would say, the English Standard Version is a very good translation from English. They used Septuagint, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Masoretic text. Likewise, the scholars who have translated the different Manichaean manuscripts, I believe they have a very good and neutral stance, and of course, it would be best to learn the language, which I hope the members do in time. But it's not necessary for our faith or practice, practicing the faith today. I guess it's just out of interest or academic interest. It would be good to learn the original language. Oscar.
Yeah, I agree. I have faith in the scholars' translations. Perhaps the interpretations can be up for debate for our own church, but in general, I do think that they are fairly accurate, and I think Daniel said a lot of what I was going to say pretty well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The For a long period of time, almost throughout the history, Manicheans were considered among the heresy, both in Western countries and Eastern countries. And wherever they go, they had problem with the, um, let's say, dominate religion, if you will. If I don't care if it was a state religion or not, uh, because some of them were not really the state religions, but they considered always as a kind of heresy. And for a long period of time, until the 20th century, whatever we know about the Manichaeism was from a body of text that was provided uh, from those who were against these guys. So, for example, uh, Arianus, Augustine, and other guys that condemned Manichaeans to be kind of heresy, or they criticized their beliefs for a long period of time. So, in uh, uh, in 21st century today, do you think if you have a chance, however, I don't care how, uh, if you have a chance that creates a real believers community that takes, for example, I don't know, 1 million believer, for example, something like that. However, it can take, I don't care. Just talks imaginary. Do you think again the Pope, the state religions around the world will consider Manichaeans against as a heresy and try to kill them? I don't know, extinct them. However, what's your belief in that?
Yeah, well, this first and foremost, I guess thank the Father of greatness in his wisdom that we live in this day and age where religious pluralism is accepted in at least the Western hemisphere and largely in Eastern cultures as well. As well as the African continent. Not everywhere. We have to be very sensitive, but essentially, like where we are based, of course, no, somebody might call us a heretic, but it goes by the by. There is interreligious dialogue today, like there is the global ecumenical Christian Council. I guess would Manichaeism be accepted within that? Probably not. But would they call out Manichaeism as the great heresy? No, because you see how the Catholic Church has. Sorry, there's a big motorcycle outside the window here. Um, the Catholic Church has accepted Islam to be, they basically are saying that, Muslims are saved. Whereas I think the church fathers would regard Calvinism as a heresy of today. So I think at least we live in an age where religious pluralism is accepted and interreligious dialogue amongst different communities, especially where we live, is very commonplace. And, persecution or fear of being, attacked for our beliefs is, it doesn't really regard us in our area. Now, regarding sensitive countries, let's say North Korea, China, or Iran, for example, where it is illegal well, at least in Iran, it's illegal to convert from Islam to Manichaeism or to Christianity. If Manichaeism was there, then we would have to be very sensitive to this issue. And this is why I said we have the structures and systems in place to accommodate local missionary activities to keep these people safe and to give them the resources that they need to build house churches. So I think calling Manichaeism a heresy today, we can equally call Calvinism or, let's say papal infallibility. The church fathers would have called that a heresy today. Let's have a look at Islam. They would call, let's say there's people who've called the Alawites as heretical, the Sufis as heretical, the Shia heretical, from a Sunni perspective. So I think you're always going to have this dichotomy, this opposition between who's heretical, who's in the inbox, who's got the Willy Wonka golden ticket to heaven. I would say in the end, it doesn't really matter because the cosmos is going to go up in flames and light will be released and we'll live in the perfect creation. Whereas, some might believe otherwise. But at least Manichaeism for me gives me that security, knowing that in the end, we will be saved. And, if people consider us heretics today, so what? It's what it is.
Okay, speaking of Islam, because you said earlier that you believe money was the seed of prophets, do you or your community consider Islam kind of heresy?
Um, we respect Islam and we respect Muslims. We respect the tradition as a religion. However, our internal beliefs, just like with the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church, have respect for Islam. Uh, we do not see Muhammad as a prophet because Mani was the seal of the prophets. It was Mani who first coined this term. Whilst we respect Islam and the tradition, we don't agree with his prophethood. Um, that's what we have to say about that.
Real quick, the reason Mani is the seal of the prophets, and there is a reason, is the previous religions were corrupted because their teachers did not write their texts. Mani's is not because he actually wrote his texts, even though there weren't. I mean, we don't have a ton, but we do still have them. But there's no reason for there to actually be another prophet after him because he wrote his texts. Why would they need to be replaced?
Perfect. Thank you for each notes. Uh, um, Earlier, you mentioned that you are working on writing some Manichean text and commissioning different types of art forms to those even who are not Manicheans. I have two questions concerning that. The first thing that do you consider commissioning or supporting any kind of academic projects or funding the kind of university for the students who are studying Manichaeism? And also, uh, when you commission first, how do you what is the source of your money, and who is the owner of this body of text, who holds the right of this created piece of art or text or whatever it is. Do you have a kind of organization registered or so on?
Yeah, basically, let's start with the Ekklesia of Light. So recently, Oscar has made the Ekklesia of Light an LLC in the US. Now, this is a temporary um, for a temporary basis. We plan to go for the non-profit organization. The only reason why Oscar's gone down the route of the LLC is that if anything were, terrible to happen, then, this young man who has done so much would be, not held, limited liability. Our source of income has largely been out of our own pockets for our own interest and the donations of very kind members. I'm not sure if they want their names to be mentioned. Oscar probably knows more about that. But it is donation based. And these donations we have. Uh, there's myself, Oscar. We also have Cole, and we want to have a council where we can see these accounts, we know where the money's going, and we want it to be distributed between going to charitable organisations, church activities, planting churches, etc. However, the source of income at the minute is, I think we have $80 at the moment in the account. So it's uh, it's prioritizing where do we send these funds and how do we use them. And right now, what we've got to do is maintain the website and obviously ensure that the Ekklesia is running and that we can support the local churches that are being planted. Oscar, I think you better take over now for this bit.
As for where the art and stuff gets commissioned, they're usually just freelance artists that we hire to do this because unfortunately most of us don't have the artistic skill to be able to fairly accurately restore these art pieces. And generally, we just give the artists the fragments and then give them the descriptions from the scholars on what exactly it was or is, and they take it from there. Um, Something I've read actually is that the later copies of the Book of Pictures is still attributed to Mani, even if it's a different artist. Um, and I think that still applies today as well for the art. Um, a lot of the texts and stuff, as far as I'm aware, are also just public domain. Um, so, especially because there are some from like the early 20s, 1920s, not. But yeah, I think the art in particular is for everybody, uh, and honestly, I don't think there should be a um, like huge price tag on knowledge, but you know, I think that's about it for me to say.
Okay, perfect. Speaking of the church, do you think one day we will have a kind of monastery or any kind of church that has a real building, not serving as a uh, house church? And if so, do you think registering it will put some limitations in how do you work and how do you earn money and how do you invest this kind of money? Or what would be the priority for this church if there would be one?
Well, like any church, of course, uh, our vision is to have a physical a building and a physical location, but we have to prioritize, and house churches are the ideal model for now. In the future, of course, as the ecclesia grows, members are expected to donate monthly. I donate $25 a month, for example. Um, and these funds are distributed uh, throughout the church into either maintaining websites or future buildings, etc. Just like normal organizations do. I guess for us the focus right now is the church planting and getting the body of believers in place. Like the scriptures, for example. They are for sale on our website, but if somebody is seriously interested in planting a church, of course, the sacred text will be given for free. This isn't, we're not a money-making organization. We want, money's message. It's not a commodity. It is a spiritual truth that is available for everybody. It's just that we have to try and find out ways we can build the church and continue to grow with the limited amount of funds that we have at this moment in time. And therefore, transparency is very key that, we can be transparent about where the funds are going, that we are contributing to charitable organizations as well, and maybe to researching more about Manichaean. We don't know exactly how we're going to, organize the distribution of funds for the future. It's just the main priorities right now are church planting, the website, and obviously missionary work, which costs money. Advertising costs money. So yeah, that's my take. Oscar, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah. Eventually, I do believe that we will have a physical location, a physical building, especially because I know, I mean, whether it's rented or bought by the church is, you know, whichever works best, really. But in some places, you do actually have to have a physical building, like a physical location, um, where you have this church in order to be considered a church. So I do think that's important. I mean, personally, I envision it to be generally like any church: art, places to pray, um, everything that churches have. But like Daniel said, it's mostly just focusing on proselytizing and missionary work and all of that. Also, side note in regards to the money thing, um, if you looked at our bank account, we've actually technically lost money. So it's not really about the money, it's just the religion itself and spreading the religion.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
How can someone join your community to hear what you say, or even imagine after a while he uh, consider being a Manichean? What is the ritual that we have to do, or I don't know, how someone can say, okay, today I am a Manichean, and how do you accept him as a believer? For example, uh, different churches, I don't know, Baptist, I don't know, Calvinist, Catholics, Orthodox. All of them have different kind of rituals for at least baptism and the word that they say, or even in Islam, you believe in different kind of sects. You do different things. You have to do sometimes a ritual to be accepted among the community of believers. So, what is the rituals that you do for the one that wants to join your church? And just let us know before how someone can join your community.
As of right now, for hearers and your general person, if you want to convert, we have a creed that you publicly recite. As for the elect, it theirs is going to be different. They're going to have to be vetted, and they'll have to take extra vows, etc. As for how people can get in contact with us, there are multiple ways actually. I mean, I'm active in the Manichaeism Reddit, which I post stuff there, and if anybody wants to get in contact me through that, and you can contact any of our individual members, and they'll probably help you. You can contact us through the Discord, but more especially, you can contact us through our website. There's a blog there where if you post anything there, we're going to notice, we're going to see it. We also have business email addresses, so you can email us there. So I think there's plenty of different ways that you can get in contact with us. So it's not, we're not unreachable like some other organizations.
What about the rituals? There's no specific rituals, just some vows and all in.
For right now, for the hearers, it's just a recitation of the our creed publicly to the other members. We can't really have anything more specific yet because online.
As well, in terms of like where I live contextually, it would be Mani didn't believe in baptism. I guess a confession of faith is enough that you take the Ten Commandments as a hearer, or with the elect, that you then live the Ten Commandments plus the three seals. So this would be done amongst the believers, and like the Shahada, it is taken, as a valid vow, and whether one wants to change their name or not, it's up to them, I guess. If it's a new life, of course. I chose my middle name just to make a difference from the old person to the new. So yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Before I ask my last question, I want to just ask one of you to please write the link to the website that you mentioned right now in today's discussion. So if anyone wants to contact you, have the link, and of course I will do it tomorrow. But if you want to do it today, you can provide the link for your website, for your Discord group, for your YouTube channel that you are reading and preaching about Manichaeism. And for the last questions, how do you uh, think about, we are living in a world that today, each day, there are a lot of uh, um, lack of beliefs into the modern people, and each day the number of people who believe in nothing or becoming agnostic or atheist are increasing and increasing and increasing. And we used to have a lot of uh, a small sect that tried to propose something Gnostic or other kind of belief, and were not successful. Why do you think you will become successful, and or hope maybe? And how do you think, or why do you think the new world, the world that is filled with science and the answers to almost all questions that the modern person may have, I don't know if it's correct or not, but uh, just uh, take it as a note. Why do you think we need a new kind of religion that you are proposing?
Sorry, you were really breaking up then. If you could just quickly put it into a nutshell what you said, because the sound quality went down.
Okay, so I repeat my question. Sorry, uh, I put it short this time. Uh, when the world is becoming more agnostic and atheist everywhere around the world, and the community of believers are losing their beliefs, whatever it was, and that they are believing into science more and more. Why do you think your religion or sect, if you want, I don't know, have a chance of reviving something or presenting to the new and modern human being?
Yeah. Well, I guess I've already covered this, but I guess I would challenge this idea that we're becoming more and more secular. New atheism is a thing of the past. It lost its war. What we're actually seeing within the latest generation is a re-enchantment of seekers, people yearning for a community that they can be a part of in a world that has suddenly become very unstable, very insecure. You're seeing Christian revivals, you're seeing Islam, growing, especially in the West. I can't speak for other countries, but you're especially here in the Western Hemisphere, you're seeing a re-enchantment of society. And Manichaeism, like I said, it works really well with this idea of string theory, with the idea of the multiverse. It's clear in our scriptures, this idea that, the macrocosm is almost a mirror image of the microcosm, that the are mirror images of one another. And this idea that there are many Earths or many, different universes. So I definitely think Manichaeism is a religion for today. Find out more on our website. ask us questions. And, it is definitely a faith, a living faith that, we've seen through history how it uses Buddhism in China, or it uses Zoroastrian language in Iran, or it uses Christian terminology in the West. Again, Manichaeism can use the terms and ideas of today within its modern scripture of epistles or ideas that are reflected through the blog or, in imagery, art, etc. So definitely it is relevant for today in the re-enchantment of humanity.
I would add also um, that I think a lot of the agnostics in particular, or even some of the atheists, um, are part of the reason why they are, I think, personally, is because they're dissatisfied with the current religious options, I suppose. Because I've actually noticed, for some reason, the atheists, I've met quite a few atheists that are actually very interested in Manichaeism. Um, so I think that's a pretty good indication, at least in my eyes, that it is relevant for today because it's an alternative to a lot of the other religions. And I also like that it is because of the way Manichaeism is, it has the possibility to unite many different ideologies under one banner.
Perfect. So I am done with my question. If you have any final words, I would love to hear it. And if anyone has questions, can just request to have a mic and come up and talk. Or if you cannot talk, just write your question now so that we can ask it now. Thank you very much. So before we get the questions, or anyone, I'm not sure if there is a question, but please, if you have the final words, we're here to listen.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
having
just want to
us.
say, yeah, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure meeting and talking with you, and to also engage with your audience. And, we pray that the Father of greatness, the Mother of life, Jesus of splendor, and the Maiden of light can bless you all. And thank you for this time. Amen.
Oscar?
Um, I think that's about it. I'm just very grateful that we were able to do this, and I hope to hear from different people. I hope that people DM and ask questions. Um, we would be more than happy to answer. So,
Perfect. Because I don't see any requests to come up or any questions. I'm not sure if anyone has a question. So before that, I have a personal question. I'm not sure if it's related to this discussion, but if you see the Pope today, uh, what would you say to him?
I I guess we would tell him to see the light revealed through the fourth messenger, Mani, the seal of the prophets.
Perfect, perfect. So thank you for having this discussion. I'm looking forward to have a more discussion with you guys if we can manage that into in later times. Thank you very much for your time, and everyone. Thank you for listening to us all this time. This discussion is recorded both in Twitter as a Twitter space and in my Instagram, just showing myself without having Daniel or Oscar face, but I'm sure that everyone could hear them inside the Instagram also. So it would be available in both platforms. If you want to check it out later, you can find it out. Okay, if you have something, Daniel.
Yeah, I just saw there's a couple of questions here. It, People are putting their hands up in the Twitter account.
Sure. Unfortunately, I cannot see the questions, but if anyone can come request to come up, I don't see really any request to come up as a speaker. So uh,
There was Kul Farah. I can't read the other person. 'Cause it's in uh, is it Persian? And then Azadeh, they had the hands up, I think.
yeah. Okay. So I just give them the mic if they want to come up. I'm not sure.
They might have just been clapping.
Yeah. So maybe. So okay. Thank you for your time, everyone. Hope to have you very soon. Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. God bless.
Goodbye.
God bless.